Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers, coming to you from Washington, D.C. On the broadcast today, United States Senator Jacky Rosen joins us for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
The next time there's a crisis, at school or in your neighborhood, who do you trust to protect your family? Who do you want answering the phone? A corrupt politician looking for headlines? Or a tested leader?
This is Joe.
You knew the answer. Joe Lombardo has served with honor and integrity. And unlike our current governor, he'll put service before self, just like he always has.
It's the $85,000 football frenzy at Tamarack Casino with up to $15,000 in weekly cash and free play giveaways and $25,000 in grand prize giveaways Thursday, September 29th. Your good times are at Tamarack Casino during the $85,000 football frenzy.
Modern boutique Ahern Hotel and Events Center in Las Vegas. Host meetings and events on 2 floors. Stay in luxurious rooms and suites. Unlimited branding opportunities. Regional Italian cuisine by Chef Mark Segrisi. Flexible event spaces. Full buyout options. Visit ahernhotel.com today.
Pro Group Management offers workers' comp services to a growing number of industries. As businesses grow and change with the times, the need for a solid workers' comp program must be flexible and up to date. The evolving nature of regulations can make staying ahead of complex tasks challenging. But Pro Group Management simplifies the work so your industry can move forward and succeed. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Nevada Newsmakers Studio is located at the headquarters of the Nevada Trucking Association. Motion and purpose are a truck's greatest virtue.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, coming to you from Washington, D.C. We are delighted to welcome back to the program Nevada's junior Senator Jacky Rosen. Pleasure to have you back on the program, man.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here with you.
Let's start out with, unfortunately, what's going on in Ukraine. As a member of the Senate Arms Committee, you get to question the chair of the Joint Chiefs, General Milley. What are your concerns about sending the Ukrainians long-range Army tactical missile systems that hit 200 miles away?
Well, I'm glad you brought up Ukraine. I do sit on Senate Armed Services. I'm a member of the Senate NATO Observer Group, and I was privileged to go to Germany and Poland in the beginning of the brutal invasion by Putin. We were just a few miles from the Ukrainian border, where we were able to speak with many from the Ukrainian government at that time about the relief that we were providing. So whether it's military relief, humanitarian relief, what I can tell you, overall, the support for Ukraine is solid here in the United States government. What we have to do is provide them with the tools that they need to win, because what we heard from the Ukrainians and what we continue to hear is that they love their country. They are patriotic, they want to fight, they want to take back their sovereign nation, and they want to rebuild. And so whatever military support we give them, it has to be the kind that they can use and will be effective. Sometimes there's no training on certain things. These things are highly, some of these defense systems are highly technical. They require a lot of training. And will they be effective in that domain that they're fighting in? So I think that with General Milley, the other generals, and our other military leaders, talking with the rest of NATO and, of course, President Zelensky, they're trying to determine what the appropriate things are to be to support Ukraine in their efforts to defeat Vladimir Putin and his war.
Okay, but I guess the bigger question here is the range of these missiles. These missiles could land in Russia and do damage in Russia specifically. They would not just be defensive or attack weapons to be able to get the Russians out of Ukraine. These could potentially hit serious targets in Russia. So that's really my question is, would you support that effort?
Well, I think that we have to look and see if it's going to put any Article 5 issues at risk. That would mean a NATO going in and declaring war? Would it push that Article 5? Would it push it for Putin? We have to look at the global situation. This is why we work with our allies and partners to determine the kind of help that we can give Ukraine so that they can fight the battle and they can win. And so I think that we will leave those recommendations to the military experts along with our allies and partners, working with State Department to help provide them the aid they need to win that isn't going to escalate the situation.
Boy, the situation seems to escalate constantly. There was a New York Times article over the weekend that talked about the military seeking prisoners to become volunteers to work for military contractors to go and fight this war, and if they were to do this over a certain period of time, they would get their freedom. I've spoken to military experts in the United States who tell me that we have United States contractors working in Ukraine. We don't have military there, but contractors. Are you aware of that?
I haven't been briefed on that specifically, but what I can tell you is that President Zelensky, they are trying to build their army the best they can. Of course, Vladimir Putin, as we've seen, a war criminal creating heinous murders. We've seen unearthing of mass graves. Our hearts go out to the families as they discover this is how their loved one was murdered. He needs to be held accountable. And again, President Zelensky, we have to find every way that we can to give military aid and humanitarian aid against this brutal, brutal dictator in Vladimir Putin and his regime. And I feel that there's great support here for that in the United States Congress. We're going to continue to do that.
Do you feel, because it really isn't talked about in the media, but with the amount of weaponry that we are supplying either directly to Ukraine or via NATO, that we are literally in a war with Russia at this point already?
Well, I wouldn't say that we're in a war with Russia at this point already. We are working with our NATO allies and partners. We are trying to be sure that Vladimir Putin gets the message that we won't tolerate this kind of brutality, this unprovoked invasion, and give him any idea that he can continue his march into Europe or any place else that he decides to go. And so I think we need to hold the line, hold him there, and let him know unequivocally that the rest of the world will not stand for his brutality. And so it maybe isn't so much a war with Vladimir Putin as it is a warning that we won't tolerate this, and we're going to help hold the line right here, right now, with military help, with humanitarian help, with financial sanctions, every single way we can to isolate Putin on the world stage and let him know that the world will not tolerate this behavior.
I'm sure you read and were briefed on the fact that a second nuclear power plant was attacked by the Russians. Do you have concerns that as Putin becomes more and more isolated by the things that you've described, that he will become more to take desperate measures, for example, taking out a GPS satellite, which would cause untold damage to the United States?
Well, I think Vladimir Putin is smart. He understands the line that he maybe shouldn't cross that would really invoke not just Article 5, but provoke countries all around the world to come out against him. And so I know that they've let inspectors into the nuclear plant that you're mentioning it. Actually, later on today, we're going to have a classified briefing as to what's been going on. But I want to be clear that Vladimir Putin understands that if he lets loose with any nuclear or chemical weaponry, that he potentially has crossed that line into Article 5 and what that means on the world stage. He's been pretty careful up to now. I think that's why he let the inspectors in. I think he's realizing how isolated he's becoming, and that any support that he thought he might have on the world stage isn't as robust as he thought it might have been.
After 4 years in the Senate and now hearing these classified briefings, how well do you sleep at night?
Well, I can tell you that sometimes it is difficult to hear the classified briefings, but what they do is they inform us as to what our role needs to be in order to protect our constituents, to protect the people at home in Nevada, to protect our country, to protect our economic security, our emotional security and anxiety. So that's a risk, a sleepless night I'm willing to have, because that information allows me and my colleagues to help make the appropriate decisions in order to protect our country and ask questions of our military leaders, diplomatic leaders, about what we need to do in order to keep ourselves safe, our families, our kids, our grandkids, our neighborhoods. And that's my primary concern always, is how do I protect Americans?
Have you been shocked by some of the things you've learned? And I'm not asking you to reveal anything, but I'm just asking, have you been shocked by any of the things? Because you came from a very civilian background. You did not come up through politics. You did not come up, I believe, through the military.
No.
And so this is all new turf to you over the last few years.
Well, I don't think shocked is the right word. I think that what I've learned, what I've come to understand is the breadth and depth of our military and what they really do, from cybersecurity, from logistics, strategic thinking, how they work on training and collaboration and cooperation with countries all around the world. So you see this large network of innovation and collaboration. You see, especially, I'll talk a little bit about cybersecurity, some of the things they're doing really on the forefront of protecting us, protecting our critical infrastructure. Some of those things, of course, will come into our public-private partnerships and then also come out as the innovations, of course, eventually come out into the commercial marketplace. So you think about GPS or some of those things used for the military, and now who can get anywhere without maps on their phone, right? Sure. And so I think that what you really realize is the depth and the breadth of what they're working on, the expertise, the knowledge, the dedication, and the commitment that our men and women in uniform and those companies and organizations that support them, their real commitment to protecting America.
The companies that provide the munitions, they are supplying billions of dollars, literally, worth of munitions to this effort. Those have got to be replaced. Do we have any idea at this point of what kind of cost we're looking at for supporting Ukraine?
Well, you know, we talk about this in the NDAA, and we've had classified briefings on this. Of course, as we begin to give out our weapons, munitions, as they say, we're going to have to, of course, increase production and then backfill what we've done. There's plans in place to do that. I'm not privy to say, some of that's classified, but right away in the beginning, people were very aware of everything that goes out has to be backfilled, and of course we're going to increase some of our supply as we continue to support these efforts. It's just not us here in America. There's other countries, the other NATO allies also providing support, and we're all doing everything we can. We understand that we have to be sure that we stay whole going forward.
And supply chain issues. I'm talking to people across the country who are involved in this industry who say that they need to ramp up incredibly in terms of staffing to be able to accommodate what's being asked for already in terms of backfill.
So I'm really glad you asked this, because we have the CHIPS and Science Act that we passed just this past summer. What does that do? That's going to bring chips and other advanced manufacturing right back here to the United States. What does that mean? Well, we're talking about defense right now, but everything from your coffee pot to your phone to your car, your refrigerator, everything has a computer chip in it. When we bring that domestic manufacturing here to create those chips, we not only build our American manufacturing back up, which are great advanced manufacturing jobs, we build up the communities around it. We reduce our costs because our supply chain issues aren't there. When you move something from one state to another, it's going to be a whole lot easier to move on trucks or trains than it is trying to have supply chain import tax coming from other, on cargo ships across the world. And so those are some of the things we're doing. Of course, I want to talk a little bit about STEM education, just even cybersecurity. 500,000, 600,000, 700,000 jobs open in cybersecurity across this country. We're working on bringing apprenticeships, certificates, cybersecurity programs all across the country. Our cybersecurity infrastructure agency, CISA, just is rolling out a $1 billion grant program and challenges for across the country. So we increase our workforce in particularly our engineering, STEM, all of those fields that help to create and innovate in this in this sector. So we're doing an awful lot with the bills that we've passed and the funding that we've done in order to make sure that we not have the money to do it, the education to do it, and the trained workforce.
Isn't it ironic that agencies like the FBI and the CIA end up hiring hackers to go work for them because they're the people that know how to defeat these systems, and now they're working for the federal government?
Well, I'll tell you, I started my career as a computer programmer, you know that, and of course, there were closed systems then. When I started in the 1980s, there were mainframe systems. Of course, through the years, internet came and personal computers and et cetera, so it's all changed and modified. And so, because we need to build a robust workforce, we need to bring in people from every single sector who have the talent and the wherewithal to do it. So oftentimes some of the young folks are excited about breaking into things. There's the puzzle of all of the computers is really kind of like a big puzzle sometimes, writing computer code. But they realize that then they can use these talents in order to protect us. And so we're doing that. We're trying to bring STEM education out across the country to the I've got to visit schools, 2nd, 3rd grade. They're learning to build little robots and program them in very fun ways. I know we only have a short time here. I'd love to tell you about some of the fun projects I've seen the little 2nd and 3rd graders do. It's very too, fun.
But for another day perhaps, because we got to take a break and make some money here to pay for
perfect.
this. So we'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers after this time out.
For now, abortion is legal in Nevada. But Adam Laxalt wants to change that. He called Roe versus Wade a joke.
Roe v. Wade was always a joke.
Electing Adam Laxalt means giving Mitch McConnell the power to pass a nationwide ban on abortion that would overturn Nevada's abortion protections. Adam Laxalt has shown us who he is on abortion. We should believe him. SMP is responsible for the content of this ad.
It's the $250,000 Progressive Windfall of Cash at Carson Valley Inn. Weekly Progressives could accumulate up to $35,000 in cash and $20,000 in guaranteed grand prize giveaways. It's the $250,000 Progressive Windfall of Cash at the Carson Valley Inn.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
Like a traditional handmade basket, retail is woven into the fabric of life in Nevada. From big box to mom and pop, retail supports our communities in countless ways. Jobs for the disabled, team uniforms for kids, help for the elderly, and so much more. Retail employs over 1 in 10 workers. Retail supports Nevada, and we support retail.
RANNV.org.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with United States Senator Jacky Rosen of Nevada. Senator Graham's abortion bill. April Becker, who is running for Congress, says it wouldn't be constitutional after the ban on Roe versus Wade if it was in fact passed. What are your thoughts on Senator Graham, his bill, potential bill, and whether it's constitutional or not?
Well, let's be clear. Senator Graham, the MAGA, extreme MAGA Republicans, they are doing what they said they're going to do. They want to implement a nationwide abortion ban. And you can see candidates or other legislators around the country during their elections trying to walk back things that they had said during their primaries. Adam Laxalt called Roe v. Wade a historic win, I believe, is what he said. And so we have to look at what the Republicans, and particularly the MAGA Republicans, are doing. This is rigid. And it is harmful, these nationwide abortion bans. Women will die. Women will go to an emergency room with a complication from pregnancy. And who will they call? A lawmaker, a lawyer, to decide if the doctor can give care right there in the emergency room. And so we have to stop these extreme bans. Women, we know in Nevada, in the 1990s, we codify the right for a woman to make her own reproductive health care choices. And if this nationwide bill, if Senator Graham's bill goes in, this would overrule, supersede the will of the Nevada voters. And so I think we have to take them at their word, watch what they've said in the past, not what they're trying to say now. They know this is unpopular, particularly unpopular in Nevada. And they all will vote with Senator Graham for this.
Are you concerned that basically if a bill like this were to pass, that we would be going to backstreet abortions would basically be what would happen? Although we are seeing medication pills, they're being prescribed now for people to be able to get abortions, and they found a way to circumvent some of the state laws.
Well, I think overall, what we have to realize is that who should be making health care decisions for women? The woman, her family, and her physician in the privacy of her provider, doctor's office, whomever that is. There's no other area that anyone goes to the doctor and has these restrictions on them. So women need to be able to make their own reproductive health care choices. And so I think about women who I've known who've had miscarriages, ectopic pregnancies, complications. These things are complicated and they're painful, and wanted pregnancies, and things happen. I had a friend who, thank goodness she lived, but it's such a complication that she almost had to have all the blood replaced in her body because she was hemorrhaging so bad. Her son lived and she lived, but it was very touch and go. And so these are the kinds of unintended consequences. You think about those young girls that we've heard about, 10 years old, incest, rape and incest. Their little bodies can't handle a pregnancy, 10 or 12 years old, and something's been forced upon them. So we have to think about the humanity of it, these rigid laws. Who's best to make those decisions? A woman in her private office with her provider. That's what I believe.
More with Senator Rosen after.
Ahern Rentals began as Signal Gas Station on Las Vegas Boulevard. Founder John Ahern grew the business by offering rentals. His son Don built on John's legacy, growing Ahern Rentals into the largest independently owned American rental company, with 89 locations in 30 states. Don also brought his experience and vision to equipment manufacturing with Extreme Manufacturing and Snorkel. Today, Ahern Rentals continues to bring its family values to a new generation. Learn more at ahern.com.
It's the $85,000 football frenzy at Tamarack Casino with up to $15,000 in weekly cash and free play giveaways and $25,000 in grand prize giveaways Thursday, September 29th. Your good times are at Tamarack Casino during the $85,000 football frenzy.
Each day, the Children's Advocacy Alliance partners with leaders, legislators, and families across Nevada to improve children's health, education, economic well-being, and safety. We recognize Nevada will be no better than the state of its children. Be a part of this change. Be a supporter of the Children's Advocacy Alliance. For more information, go to caanv.org.
Southwest Specialties has been making the homes and businesses of Nevada beautiful for more than 20 years. Their experienced designers and craftsmen create the walkways, backyards, water features, and a variety of outdoor cooking areas that add curb appeal and value to your investment. Call today or visit them at their website and see how they can make your outdoor spaces special. Southwest Specialties, creative, distinctive, beautiful.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with United States Senator Jacky Rosen from Nevada, the Abraham Accords. Have you been surprised at how well they have worked?
Well, a 2-year anniversary. It was a watershed moment, historic moment. to promote peace and stability in the region. I can tell you that I'm one of the co-founders of the Abraham Accords Caucus in the Senate. Our goal is to deepen these ties and expand to other countries, and normalizing throughout the region for peace and stability. And it's not just the region that benefits from this. I would say the world benefits from stability in the Middle East. As you know, there's so many issues there. So I'm proud to see these accords move forward. We're going to do everything we can to deepen and strengthen those ties, and I look forward to working on that in the Senate.
I know that Dr. Adelson was involved with the previous administration in helping to get this put forward, and Jared Kushner was the one who was at the foreground. Is she still involved in what's going on in the Middle East through your office?
You know, I haven't spoken with her recently. I've got to see her a few years ago and talked to her off and on through the years. But right here in the Senate, what we're doing is we're focusing on diplomatic and cultural relations. We're hoping to lead a Senate delegation to the Abraham Accords countries early next year to talk about our cultural ties, strengthen our military, economic ties all around with those 4 countries. Like I said, broaden it out across the region. We're going to continue to move forward. We have good, strong bipartisan support for that, and I look forward to working on it.
It's amazing what can happen when you have an enemy like Iran. Brings a lot of people together.
I would say that's true.
And that's where we have to leave it. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know how busy you are in D.C., all of you in the Nevada Congress are, and thank you for taking the time.
Thank you. It's my pleasure, always.
And we'll be right back.
A bird's eye captures its surroundings at different heights. At Brian Culpa Photography, we can make your imagination soar over buildings, parks, cityscapes, and beyond. Brian's images tell the story and get the job done. If you need a new perspective to tell your story, contact Brian today. Brian Culpa Photography. Experience the bird's eye view at brianculpaphotography.com.
Safety is the #1 priority for the trucking industry. Over $7 billion a year is spent on technology like this electronic eye that will apply the brakes automatically. But the most important factor for safety is the truck driver. These hardworking men and women who safely move over 70% of our nation's freight and 94% of Nevada's. We thank you because trucks move America forward.
Hi, I'm Renee Summer, our digital news anchor here at 7 at 7. Watch our streaming nonstop newscast immediately with your mobile phone. 7 at 7 is the new way for you to get every bit of local news you need in just 7 minutes. Breaking news, local neighborhood news, weather, and sports are just a click away. Reporters bring you all of what's happening in the Valley. From Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, YouTube, and more. Get every bit of local news you need from the RJ and LVRJ.com.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you. But we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
It's the $250,000 Progressive Windfall of Cash at the Carson Valley Inn.
We'll see you on the next broadcast, coming to you from Washington, D.C., right here on Nevada Newsmakers.